All right, welcome to Real World Witness, everybody. My name is Chrissy. I am here with my good friend Doug Ducote. Hi, Doug.
Hey, Chrissy.
So this is sort of the special that I wanted to do for the invasion of America. We've been sort of involved in this since 2019, kind of researching and knowing what's going on way back then, and now to see what's happening now is kind of interesting. So first I wanted to start off and let you guys know. So Doug is a 20-year veteran, Army veteran, and he also is a retired law enforcement officer. And he and Dustin Gold is another friend of ours, which he's been on my show before. They did go down to the border in 2019. Now, I want to set this up first. Let me show you a broadcast that Doug did the other day with regards to the border and what's going on in Texas right now with the Take the Border Back America truck convoy that's going on down there. So let me get this cranked up here. Let's share my screen. I'm going to do this right this time. Here we go. Okay. All right. So here we go.
This is a quick, urgent update on what is happening with Texas and the border and the Biden administration. As I reported last night, Texas has declared that it has the right to self-defense against the illegal invasion of its border. And as I shared with you last night, it is written in the United States Constitution, plain and simple, that Texas has that right, as do all states. Texas is currently locked in a multi-pronged legal fight with the Biden administration over the security of the Texas-Mexico border. The Biden administration has threatened legal action over Texas' recent seizure using the National Guard of Shelby Park near Eagle Pass. The Texas National Guard now has operational control of that area to stop illegal aliens from coming across, to stop the drug trafficking, to stop the sex trafficking, to stop the MS-13 gang members, as well as terrorists. The Biden administration filed lawsuits against Texas for installing razor wire and razor wire wrap buoys in the Rio Grande. The Supreme Court then made a stance to allow the Biden administration to cut and remove the razor wire. Last night, I called for the Border Patrol to take a stand. You either live up to your oath to protect the United States and our Constitution or follow illegal orders from Joe Biden. Now, I'm not the only one calling for this, so I can't take, nor will I take full credit for what I'm about to share with you. But I will give credit to you that tuned into my show last night and then took to social media last night and today, contacting the Border Patrol, Texas law enforcement agencies, the governor's office, and members of Congress, demanding that they all live up to their oath or resign. So thank you to every one of you.
All right, I'll stop it there. So we are at a head now with this situation down at the border. And Doug, why don't you kind of talk about what you've learned thus far about the situation, and then we'll give some people a little bit of history with regards to the border.
Well, I guess let me first talk about, or I'd like to talk about this convoy that's all over the news. 18-wheelers massing together to go down there. I really haven't paid much attention to it until today, when I started looking into it, knowing that I was going to come on your show. And I wanted to be able to actually address what they're doing and what they're all about. And because everybody's covering it. It's all over social media.
Mhm.
It's the news, all the news agencies are covering it. Back they were in Denham Springs, Louisiana, earlier today, which is right down the street from where I'm at now. And they stayed overnight there and continue on to Texas, I guess, this morning. But so here's what you're not being told. And this is really sad, because I really wish that this would have turned out to be something that they hyped it up to be. They call themselves God's Army, also known as Take Our Border Back, and promised to bring 700,000 18-wheelers to the border. But the problem is they are 699,950 short of that. Online organizers had promised to bring the 700,000 semi-trucks from across the United States and Canada to 3 different locations along the southern border so that they can support Texas in the fight against this illegal invasion that's happening there. Well, if you think that the average semi-truck is 72 feet long, so 700,000 of them would represent 9,545 miles of 16-wheelers. That would be enough to line the entire U.S.-Mexican border almost several times over.
Yeah.
Only it looks like the convoy is going to be only the 9,544.5 miles short of its goal, because the convoy departed for the border cities of Eagle Pass, Texas, Yuma, Arizona, and the border in California. And only a few dozen participants have actually showed up. There are good reasons for the shortfall. The organizers either just made this all up and weren't really serious, or they're concerned because there's a lot of chatter that across social media and the internet that this is an FBI type thing, like they did with January 6th.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to go to jail. Getting 700,000 of the trucks to the border will require enlisting almost 1 of 6 trucks now delivering goods across the nation. And most of those are owned by trucking companies who don't seem likely to put their business on hold to help Texas or any state for that matter. In their promotions of the convoy, organizers used images from the 2022 People's Convoy, which itself managed only about 1,000 vehicles, most of them private pickup trucks and cars. After a month of pointless driving from the perimeter of Washington, D.C. and slowing vehicles on the Beltway, that convoy eventually fell apart, having achieved little to nothing. Another call for a big trucker rally in Washington, D.C. completely fizzled out.
Yeah, that felt
Mentioning 700,000 trucks was never more than basically a fantasy. It was a number spit out to make right-wing media give the organizers some desired attention, and it did, and maybe convince a few of them to open their wallets, and it sure as hell did that. Yahoo News is reporting that the organizers of this truckers convoy has already raised $138,000.
Wow.
Now that's enough money to put tanks of gas in only 300 semis, if they had 300 semis, but they don't. But as the media is reporting, only about 20 vehicles showed up in the convoy in Jacksonville, Florida's starting point, a bit shy of the 40,000 that were participated for that exact location. Not one of these vehicles at that location was actually a semi. It was trucks and cars. Before this caravan got underway, they woke up in their hotel rooms or to go out to their trucks and realized that tires had been slashed. People got lost. Convoy was just a mess. It's been a mess from the very beginning. As Raw Story reported on Monday, the unperforming convoy has been further disseminated by rumors about what's happening with the FBI possibly being involved. So the key points that I took away from all this, the lower than expected turnout, despite aspirations of mobilizing tens of thousands of trucks. The convoy only managed to get about 20 to 50 vehicles right now currently in it. The pre-departure challenges, they were having issues with the tires being slashed. For those that did show up, they were getting in arguments that were visibly seen by media about where they were going to stay and who was putting them up in hotels. If you raise $138,000, why don't we have to pay for our hotel room? Disputes, the whole way, tensions. They lost a vehicle along the way that they have no idea where it went. And that was actually an 18-wheeler that maybe just left and said, I'm not even going to be a part of this. Nobody showed up for it. The unsubstantiated claims of unclear plans, despite the setback, one of the organizers by the name of Craig Hutchinson reportedly claimed without evidence that 40,000 trucks from all over the country and Canada would soon be joining up the convoy. Well, that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
The group's goals and background was to take our border back convoy, characterized as God's Army, aims to address issues related to illegal immigration and border security. However, the group's approach and methodology is achieving these goals has not been clearly outlined. Lack of response. I mean, just it fizzled. But if you watch some of the right-wing leading news organizations, you would think that there's this massive convoy of trucks that's coming across the nation right now, and that's not the case.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, do you think that it's because? Well, I had two thoughts. Number one, that it's a trap. Okay. Number two, they're calling it in the media. They're calling it a far right wing thing. My feeling is this. I understand that people, they don't want to have another January 6th thing happen to them. I also think that the Biden administration, they need a crisis, right? And this country is about to, I mean, the CBDC is about to go down. There's all of that aspect of it. And so they need another crisis in order to bring out now the military. Now, I wanted to ask you about that. Is it a possibility that they're going to stage something at the border that will then necessitate our military to be on our soil at the border?
Well, that's a good question. And it's a question that a lot of people have asked. National Guard wise, yeah, there's 25 states now that are sending their National Guard down there, along with members of their state police, city police, anybody they can spare, law enforcement, they're sending down. So there are some Democrats up in Washington, D.C. that are asking Joe Biden to federalize those National Guard members so that they can't be sent to the border, because then, the National Guard in peacetime reports to the governor. He's able to activate them to do whatever. In this case, they're activating them to go to the border to help Abbott in Texas. But the other side of that coin is that the federal government, under the president of the United States as commander-in-chief, can activate them for federal service, and then the state doesn't have any control over them. And that's what these Democrat members are calling for right now. Take them out of the equation before they get down there. To activate the active duty military, there are clauses that say that you can't do that have been put in years ago. But if it's an actual invasion of the country and the Pentagon labels it as such, then the president has the authority to put active duty troops on the border. Trump did that a few times. Not many, but he did it a few times.
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration, there have been active duty forces that have went down for basically for support roles only. What's happened in the past and what happened under Trump wasn't and what's happened now even, isn't these soldiers doing what the Border Patrol is doing. They were sent down there to replace the Border Patrol that's in administrative type positions and babysitting immigrants and watching over the detention centers and processing them, so the Border Patrol can free up their people to go to the border and do the job. All right. So any way you look at it, when we say that 25 states are sending their National Guard down there, not all of those National Guard members are going to be on the border doing anything.
Right.
But there will be some of them that are, and especially in Brownsville, Texas, where we do have National Guardsmen that are, at checkpoints. They're not patrolling the border like Border Patrol does. If they do come across somebody, they have the authority to detain them and then turn them over to Border Patrol, and Border Patrol will process them. So there's that aspect of it. The President of the United States has the ability to shut down that entire border. But what he's doing right now is he's playing politics, and he is saying to everyone that will listen, in between, it's kind of incoherent sometimes because he's got dementia or whatever's happening with him. But what he's putting out there, and the spin that the press secretary is putting out there, is that he doesn't have the authority to do it. That is, Republicans are blocking it because he's telling the public that he wants Congress to put together a bill to come to his desk that will give him control of the border so he can lock it down and secure it. But the Republicans are holding that up. Well, that's actually a lie. It is absolutely 100% hands down not true. It is a lie. He's made this shit up. The White House is spreading this rumor, and the president has the authority right now to do everything that's needed. All you have to do to end this crisis is the current laws that are on the books, allow the Border Patrol to enforce them, and then the crisis is done. We have support for them until we get extra Border Patrol agents, such as the National Guard helping out. But he won't do that. There are videos circulating right now on the internet. I watched one of them last night where some people went and got involved with this caravan coming across. And they get involved over in Panama, and we're coming through the jungle with these folks. I mean, it was crazy what they were going through in this pass. And they were interviewing these people about what they thought of Joe Biden. And they were all saying the same thing. Oh, he's like God to them. He's welcoming them. They can't wait to come to America and support Joe Biden because he's giving them the freedoms to come be an American citizen. So that's their mentality. That's what they think. And that's really what is happening, because the Democrats look at this as it is a stepping stone to getting more Democrat voters, because they know now, with 2024 election coming up in November, they've lost the black vote. They've lost the Hispanic vote. They've now lost the Muslim vote on all those, that support Ali Omar and Rashid Tlaib and AOC. They've turned against them because of their support for Israel. So the Democrats are in a serious problem right now. And this border thing is going to be the biggest issue that Joe Biden faces for re-election. Now, people are saying, "Oh, what about January 6th? What did January 6th? This could be another January 6th." And it could be, all right? It could be infiltrated with FBI agents. We now know from the House hearings that there were FBI agents involved in January 6th, over 300 of them. They were bussed in to be involved in that, dressed up as MAGA supporters. Okay. Here's the difference between J6 and what's happening right now in Texas with the Patriots. Not a single person that was arrested on January 6th at the Capitol had a weapon on them. Not one. I mean, they had billy clubs, they had mace, they had, sticks, fire extinguishers. They didn't have something that shoots a bullet. What we have right now, everybody showing up there is locked and loaded with M16s, AK-47s, 9mm, you name it, they're there, because Texas is an open carry state and they welcome weapons. So now you have all these patriots locked and loaded, way more so than the federal government, unless they send down gunships, for crying out
Yeah.
loud, flying overhead to shoot and kill everybody. So it's a no-win situation for both sides. And every single bit of it was caused by this current administration, because on day one, you may remember,
Yep.
he turned back every policy that Trump put in place for that border. And now it's on him. You know,
And
the
now
blood
it's
on his
bleeding.
hands, the
Because
people that
it's
are
been
dying are
bleeding.
his hands, the fentanyl's on his hands. It's all
Yeah.
Joe Biden's doings.
But here's the deal. You know, Obama, he tried to do, they've been trying to have a civil war down in this country for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, you know, what if it comes to that? What happens at that point if, you know, because people don't understand, you know, we all talk about how there are, you know, MS-13 gang members coming in, you know, terrorists from all over the country. I mean, when you guys went down there in 2019, we were the first ones to report that there were people from Iran, Iraq, where else? Turkey, China.
All over the Middle East, Cuba.
Cuba, yes, Cuba. And the MS-13 gang members, people don't know, you know, they are a very, very, like, scary gang, because they don't care about human life at all whatsoever, and they torture people. I mean, like, and these are the people that are in this country right now. So what are we supposed to do at this point? If in fact Biden does not close this border down and just keeps it bleeding like it's been bleeding for the last 4 years, then what? I mean, how can we possibly have, you know, how is this going to work? Because we have to seal that border. I mean, we can't wait till November 2024. I feel like, you know, I don't understand why we're still here, and this whole thing with the election hasn't been overturned either. So where do we go from here? I mean, what can we tell the American people who are like watching this? We thought, the way that I was thinking is, oh, good, there's a, you know, they're going to block stuff. It's going to be great. They're going to be down there. They're going to really like do something. This is all sounding like a psyop to me, in my opinion. Maybe, you know, maybe that's what the plan is, to deflect, you know, direct our attention down there while they're doing something else, which is what they have a history of doing.
Let me throw something out there. And what I'm going to say is not very popular, especially on the right, because they don't want to, a lot of the people on the right don't want to grasp this concept, because it really screws up the narrative. And we've known this for a long time. When we went down there, when we came back, Dustin Gold, who was my producer at the time, tried to get us, and I know you did as well, tried to get us in with Governor Abbott to see the documentary we did, so we can share with him what we experienced, and they would not see us.
Yeah, they wouldn't see us. They wouldn't even answer the call. I mean, it was crazy. Right.
So as you know, we've become friends as well as you have with some of these angel families and Maria Espinoza and people like that are heavily involved with what's happening on that border. Dan Govich, our good friend, who sadly, in fact, today is the anniversary of his son's death. So
by an illegal alien. That's what people don't know. Explain what an angel family is. That they don't understand what it is.
Angel families are, okay, for instance, there's Blue and Gold Star families, okay, for the military. Blue Star families are families that have a service or a family member deployed in the service. Gold Star families are when your service member, family, loved one dies. Angel families are for those that have lost a loved one to an illegal alien that killed them. And currently there are thousands of angel families. Dan is one of them, where his son, expiring musician, just opened up as a business, musician company, was going to work and rolled up to a red light and was waiting for the light to turn green. And an illegal alien that had already been deported several times, had already killed 2 people earlier in the day, was just walking around, decided he's going to kill somebody else. And there was Dan's son, and he just walked up with a gun and shot him right in the head and killed him. He went on to shoot 2 more people that day before law enforcement finally shot and killed him. So that's what angel families are, and that's what happened with our friend. But anyhow, so what I was going to say is that talking to a lot of these people, plus what we've personally experienced down there and trying to get Abbott to get on board with us and show him the colleges that were wide open to illegals coming across the border onto the campuses. All right, a lot of stuff was exposed. What I'm coming to the conclusion of is Greg Abbott only cares about that border when it's either presidential election time or it's election time for himself.
Yeah.
In between, he does not give 2 shits about that border. Why? I don't know. But it's obvious from everything I'm hearing from the people within and around his entire camp and what we personally have witnessed is that he's part of the problem right now. And I reached out to some of these people just recently and said, listen, we need to find out who we're going to put against him. Texas allows you to have a governor keep being reelected and keep reelected until forever.
Yeah.
There is no term limit for a governor in Texas. So he can be a dictator and stay there till the day he dies if he wanted to, as long as they reelect him. Okay. So we've got to find somebody. We've got to find a good Republican conservative that cares about that border, that wants to see that border secure, that cares about these angel families. They probably need to be at least a military veteran or a law enforcement officer or both. They need to be somebody that is willing to stand up and say, I care about the border 24/7, 365 days a year, whether you elect me or don't elect me, or whether who's running for president or isn't running for president. So the bottom line, to sum it up, is that this is a dog and pony show right now, this standoff when it comes to Greg Abbott. I'm sorry to say that, but that's exactly what we're witnessing. And,
he's so dirty. I mean, just in the little interaction that I had with his office, I was like, oh, this guy, he's not for the people. He's for the establishment. People don't understand. It's a huge, huge business, a criminal organization, a worldwide organization. I mean, there's child sex trafficking, the drug running, the weapons running, and it's such a big thing. And the problem is what I feel, and I think, I talked to you a little bit about it before the show. My contention is that we don't even have control over that border at all. I think we gave the right to that border a very long time ago.
Control that border.
Yeah, I mean, for decades, I'm talking about. And the problem is that in this country, we're seeing the country go down the shits, right? And so what are we supposed to do about this? Here in Washington State, it's a shit show. I mean, it's like banging your head against a brick wall. I mean, you've got 50 plus years of Democrats controlling this area, and they're not going to give up. And now it's a uniparty here. There is no Republican here. I mean, there really isn't. Maybe one or two. But the border is such a big thing. And so what do you suggest we do about that? Because people are buying into this PSYOP. I believe it's a PSYOP at this point. I mean, if there's not that many going down there, I do want to play really quickly. I interviewed Poppy, who was involved with he was involved in one of the sort of reawaken type tours that came through here, and I met him. His name is Bruce Poppy, and he, lo and behold, shows up on one of this interview here. Was it this one? Here it is. Here, let me play this and I'll just show you. He shows up on this, which I was in shock to see him. I'm like, oh my God, I know who that is. So let me just play this and you can hear what he has to say about that.
We need to stand up. Our voices need to be heard. We need to bring people together. That's our right, as our First Amendment right, to peacefully assemble and redress our grievances, for our government. We've not been able to do that.
Okay, so the plan here this morning is to have everybody meet here at 8 o'clock, and then it's a 9 a.m. takeoff time, and we will follow them, Marky, just to show you their journey.
Thanks for.
All right, and that's what was going on with that. He's part of the convoy down there in Louisiana. I think that was at
yeah, that was
Louisiana
actually right outside the hotel in Denham Springs, right down the interstate from me, that I was talking about a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, he's part of, you know, I don't know. It's just so frustrating when you see these, you know, people do want to stand up. They do,
Yeah.
but then you've got the
And my hat's off to
factor.
all those that did show up, you know, the ones that are part of that convoy. Thank you for being there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that the rest of the, you know, 699,000 people didn't join you.
Well, do you think that they're going to, do you think that maybe down the line that we could do something with this? I mean, the problem is like what I said earlier with you is like, you know, can't they should be blocking supplies going down to the border. I mean, that would cut off a whole bunch of stuff. Why can't we do that? You know, why can't people?
Here's what I think's going to happen. All right.
Uh-huh.
What I think is going to happen is that Joe Biden is he's been called out in these press briefings so badly, and they went so badly, although some of these reporters are not asking the right questions, follow-ups that they should. But that may change with people like Peter Doocy, for instance, if they don't kick him out of the press briefing. But here's what I think is going to happen, and we're going to see real soon, is Joe Biden finally caving to the Republicans in the House and the Senate and agreeing to shut this border down and use his presidential powers that he has. Because if he doesn't, shy of them rigging another election, there's not a chance in hell he's going to get reelected with what's being exposed now. Okay, so we have this convoy that isn't together like it was supposed to be. Set that aside. We have thousands of American patriots locked and loaded that have already been down there and are down there now, and many more heading that way that are joining the Texas militia. Okay, so it's not like we don't have people going down there that want to be a part of this standoff with the federal government. That's happening. I don't know exactly what the numbers are because they're coming from all over the different places of America. And none of them are well organized per se, because if you do that, if you go on Facebook, you go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, you True Social, anywhere to try and put something together like that, the federal government is on top of it immediately. The FBI knows about it immediately. Okay. And so then that's what happened to, you know, people were asking what happened to all the 3%ers and you know, all those groups. Well, what happened was January 6th, they took out the leaders of that. And then they got Facebook to shut down all their pages. You know, they had thousands and thousands of people that were Facebook members that, boom, the platform was gone just like that. Federal government, the FBI did that. So they're taking away that ability. So as long as the Texas National Guard stands up and continues to stand up, and these other governors that are sending out National Guard, their leaders refuse to take an illegal order from the President of the United States, then we're going to get something done on that border. If they cave and they say, okay, the president trumps this, so now we have to leave and become federally organized, then that would be a disaster, and that could very well happen. But there's lawful orders and unlawful orders, and the way the Constitution is written, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The way it is written, Texas has the right to do what they're doing right now, and that is secure the border, because the federal government failed the state, and that is the federal government's purpose. That's something that's written in the Constitution that they will do, but it's also written in there that they have Article 4, Section 4, that they have the ability, the state does. If the federal government fails, to do the job themselves. So that's where this whole thing is tied up right now. And that's where it will really come into play with the National Guard commanders. What are they going to do if Joe Biden does say, I'm activating these states that you're sending down there, so now they can't go down there or they have to come back? Will those commanders abide by that, or they abide by the Constitution and the oath they took?
They have
Comes
to
down to
abide by
that.
the oath.
That damn simple.
That's the key. They have to abide by the oath they took. I mean, that's the problem with Congress and everybody else that has taken the oath. They're not standing by Americans. They're not. And this whole thing with the illegals coming in, people don't even understand how it works. They go in there, the Border Patrol, they haven't really been stopping it. Illegals, they'll walk up to the Border Patrol and then they bring them to the distribution center, and then they sit there with their interpreter, right? They sit there with the interpreter who fills out all their paperwork, fills out a thing for them to vote. And then they give them a freaking, Visa card with $500,000 on it. They're getting cell phones, which is so interesting. A lot of illegals are getting cell phones. Now, President Trump, I watched this has been come to the attention of a lot of the people in the truther community who are talking about this. September 26th of 2023, he was in South Carolina, and he did a speech there. And he mentioned, which was so interesting, and the fact that, they're giving all of these people cell phones, so they'll be able to track them once they're here, if they still have the phones. So do you think that's part of the way? So, like, if Trump is able to come back, which he better, I don't see any other way of saving this country unless we get Trump back. So, he's claiming, it'll be the largest deportation operation in history, and they're all going to go home. So maybe, do you think that's part of it? The whole, being able to track them and stuff with the cell phones and the credit cards and all of that they're giving them?
No. 3/4 of those phones are gone. They're history. They sold them for money.
Yeah, probably, right.
Yeah. They got nothing. So they got that. The bargain was something, and they're very good at that. Well,
what's disturbing is too, now they're in New York. There was an article that came out, and there were kids, they're telling American kids to stay home and do the school online so they can use the freaking schools for the illegals.
The schools, and also an activity center, an after-school activity center for kids. It's a big, huge building. They've now closed that down to the kids and giving it to illegals to house them there. Last night, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a disturbance in New York City on the street. It's all filmed. It's all over you can see it right here on YouTube if you watch it, where some police officers were attacked by some illegal aliens.
Oh, wow.
And so they're trying to arrest them, put them in handcuffs, and more illegals jumped in, started hitting the cops, kicking the cops, really just a dog pile on these two cops. Eventually, more cops showed up at the scene. They were able to take a lot of these guys into custody. Within 12 hours, the judges released them back on the streets. They attacked, they're illegal aliens.
They
attacked, insulted police officers, and were let back out on the street. As long as you have that happening, then what shit? You're in a situation where what else can you do?
Well, this is what needs to happen. I'm sorry, but they deployed the military when the riots happened in LA during the Rodney King thing. They need to deploy our military to protect our country at this point. I mean, enough is enough. Why are we the shit show of the world right now? Everybody's laughing at us. Nobody takes us seriously anymore. Honestly, it really disturbs me that they're allowing this crap to go on. I mean, and there are no laws here. I mean, that's basically, we're in a lawless society at this point. I look at it as sort of like the Wild Wild West, because there are areas, like you said, in New York and all over in the major cities. Chicago is another one, Detroit, all over the country, where these people are just taking over areas. And how do you stop that? You can't, unless you militarize and you get boots on the ground. I mean, we are at a point where it is like, I like to say, in order, because people are so stupid, I'm sorry to say that, but a lot of people are so stupid they don't understand. It's like Lord of the Rings, okay, where you've got the orcs who are basically pushing in to your country, your castle, and you're allowing it to happen, and then they're just killing it. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want until somebody in authority in this country stands up and does something. And we, the people, can only do so much. Our vote doesn't even count anymore, is how I'm looking at it. Like, I don't know where we go from here.
If it comes down to Donald Trump running against Joe Biden, which is what it appears is going to happen, although the Democrats are doing everything in their power, utilizing the Department of Justice and the court system to put him in jail because they know what's coming. All right. Yeah. So they want to try and get him locked up to where he can't be the president. Every attempt they've done at that is starting to backfire and fail, just like all the past attempts. But we don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's say he does become the nominee for the Republican Party. He's going to have my vote, hands down. There's no way in hell I would vote for Joe Biden with what he's done to this country so far. Okay. That being said, listen, people have to remember, yes, Donald Trump did some great things for this country, way more than this son of a gun is right now.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump did some things that defy logic, defy basic common sense that I don't understand. I wish I could talk to him and say, why did you put Jeff Sessions in charge of the Department of Justice? He was a failure from the very beginning. You knew that before you put him in there.
Right.
And
then Bill Barr.
Then you picked William Barr, who's personal friends with the guy who's investigating you to run the Department of Justice. It just didn't make any sense. He didn't clean house of all the people that were in the White House administration that were turned against him. Why did you not do that? Did you think that they would just go along with you because you were a TV personality in the past?
I think he did. I think that he didn't realize that how bad it was. I really think that because you go in and you're like, oh well, they know the system, they know how the procedures are, and I really think that he thought it was just going to take not that long to really clean the swamp and do all this stuff. I mean, and then he realized the vastness of it and how deep it was. I mean, every single leader that has been involved in DC is corrupt. Yeah. Bottom line, we need a whole new, in my opinion, we need to go from the ground back up again. I think we should start completely over. It's ridiculous. You have 565 in Congress. Okay. There should only be two representatives from each state. That's it. That's 100 people. We're supposed to be, people don't understand. You're supposed to operate on the state level. That's how it was set up way back when we had our Constitution. The states take care of themselves, and then the federal government only gets involved if it's an emergency, if it's a dire situation, then they offer federal assistance. The way it is now, it's grown so big that now it's like federal is in everything. They're in every single city and town. Okay. Here in this little podot area that I'm in, I mean, it's outrageous. There was the city council of Aberdeen. They banned the syringe program, okay, because we've got like 13 opioid centers here within like a 5-mile radius. It's ridiculous. So they banned it. You know what happened? Oh, the globalists came in and there's now a global company, and now they're just still distributing it. There's homeless everywhere. People still doing drugs. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't really take control over the local because the federal government comes in and completely destroys whatever it is that we're trying to do. Because ultimately, their goal is to destroy America for their new world order. That's how I feel. And that's exactly how I feel. And so it's like the only hope we have really is, I mean, no matter what he did with Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions was a pud. He couldn't even stand up to a flea. I mean, I don't even know what they were thinking with that guy. But
I agree. He is our last hope at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
really believe that.
Whatever a Republican period is our last hope, whoever that happens to be. Okay. But people have to also realize this. Ask yourself, the biggest push, or two big pushes that could have fixed a lot of the problems we're faced with today. One was the terror block system.
Yes.
We got together with Dr.
Bring that
Charles
up.
Corky, and we pushed that, we pushed that, and we pushed that. By the time we finally got it up to the White House, Trump put Jared Kushner in charge of the border, and Jared Kushner refused to do the border or refused the terror block system. Okay. Jared Kushner doesn't know shit about the border. So why would you give him that ability? Okay. So that's number one. And number two, he said, quote, I'm going to designate the cartels in Mexico as a terrorist organization so that we can use our active duty military to go down there and take them out. Yeah. Then he went down there himself. He met with the Mexican president and came back in reverse course. Yeah. It was crazy. What do you do? Right. You know? I know. All this, lock her up, put me in. I'm taking Hillary's going to prison. He gets in. 2 days later, he says she's really a nice person and we're not going to go there. So I don't know. You know, I really don't know. He's got my vote, but don't expect him to be the savior of this country, knowing what he did in 4 years when it comes to the border. Yeah. Other stuff he did great with. When it comes to the border, every president we have had in the history of this country is a failure when it comes to our southern border. Not a single one of them did what they should have done to make this problem go away. And my contention is that I believe that the cartel is in control of that border. And with the cooperation of DHS, with the cooperation of the CIA and the FBI, that's my contention. And I thought that after you guys went down there, I was like, that's the only logical explanation based on, you know, us trying to get the governor and just everything that you guys figured out, you know, and they don't care. The other aspect of this is that, you know, they don't care about the people that are living on the border. I mean, you guys went and talked to several residents that are along the border and illegal. They cross into their property. They can't do anything. Tell them a couple of those stories because they won't even believe like what happens with that, because that was just crazy. Yeah. Well, we were able to, some of the people that we met, the most shocking was when we heard about the rape trees, where they were finding right across the border, they were finding areas where they had chains attached to the tree. The other end of the chain was a collar wrapped around a dead Mexican girl's neck, and she's naked. And that was basically for the other drug cartel bad members coming across to have sex. They would pick the weakest of the group. They couldn't make it anymore, and she became the sacrificed lamb. Yeah. That's how sick and twisted these people are. Okay. And they're in the country now. Yeah. We found other places where there were dead Mexicans that got across the border because of the heat in Texas. They weren't able to get much further, and they finally gave out and died on people's land. We interviewed one guy who had, you know, every day he was finding, you know, he had several hundred acres of land, and every day he was finding another dead illegal somewhere on his property. Then we interviewed several sheriffs down there who only had, you know, 3 or 4 deputies, and that was it to patrol for the whole area. It's ridiculous. And like, how are they supposed to operate? You know, how are they supposed to stop anything? Yeah, and the budget. There was a lot about the budget that was down there. The Border Patrol talked about that. I remember that. Because you spoke to, I can't remember the guy's name, Cabrera. Chris Cabrera, yeah. He's the Border Patrol union representative.
Yeah, the union representative, and that was interesting as well. You know, he was
Yeah,
saying
we went and we interviewed him in person there at the Border Patrol Council. He's been on my show 2 or 3 times since then. Great guy. He's an Army veteran as well. Been with the Border Patrol for many years, and he's frustrated, just like all the Border Patrol are.
Yeah.
You know, they're just tired. They're wore out. I mean, just imagine you wake up every day to go out and try and do the right thing, and the people above you are basically beating you with a stick until you just can't go anymore. You know, there is no support for these guys and girls down there from this administration and the maracas over there at the Homeland Security. I mean, what a freaking joke.
Yeah.
That guy, you know, we're trying to get him impeached now, and hopefully that's going to happen here soon. But I don't think that's going to make him go away. The Senate sure ain't going to go along with that.
Right.
So, you know, we're spending a lot of money right now doing things that I used to be very critical of the Democrats for doing, wasting money on things that you aren't going to get accomplished. And Republicans are doing that right now. You know, yes, Marcus has to go away. You can expose him for what he is, and they've done a great job of that. But so you impeach him. If the president says he ain't going away, he's not going away. What are you going to do? Who are you going to get to go in there and physically take him out? Not the Department of Justice, not the FBI.
They should have been already. But see, this is the problem. There's no checks or balances for anything at this point, you know, because they all cover themselves, and it's just, what are we? I guess let's talk a little bit before I let you go. You know, how should we leave this? Because it feels very, very meek. It feels like it's going to be, you know, we're not going to be able to really do anything. Do you think? My feeling is this: I do know several veterans that live around me, and I know they were headed down to Texas, and they are locked and loaded. Okay, I
was supposed to leave. The plan was to have left. Actually, what is today? Wednesday. Yesterday, we were supposed to. I got a group of guys together to do the videoing for me. I got security, same thing like we did the last time with Dustin. So I got that group together, and we were scheduled to head down there yesterday to start reporting on the border. And then I just had a death in my family that just happened. And so that kind of put things on the back burner. And I may end up having to, he's going to be buried in his hometown in a national cemetery up in Minnesota. Wow. So now it looks like the family wants me to go up there to do the military type funeral stuff and set all that up. So that kind of put me departing and this group departing. We're pushed back by at least a week, if not longer. But that is the plan, to go down there and see exactly what's there, who's there, what patriot groups are there. And what is the federal government doing? Are they standing anything up? Are they trying to do anything? We know that the White House is spinning the story, especially the press secretary, that the Border Patrol can't do their job because the Texas National Guard stopped them from doing it. And then on my show the other day, I read the Border Patrol tweets. You can just go to their Twitter account, or X account now they call it, and see what the Border Patrol is saying about that. They're saying the White House is a freaking lie. They're just lying. And they can't stand Joe Biden. And they are working with the Texas Guard, and they're never going to cut razor wire to start with. Even if they were ordered to do it, they weren't going to do it. Okay? So everything the Biden administration is saying is a total lie. Pathological liars. That's what they are. So what do we do about it? 2 things. Number 1, we got to believe in the power of prayer. America has to get back to the power of prayer. That's number 1.
I agree.
That's not by itself going to fix the problem, but it's going to give us the strength and the courage to vote Republicans in and do something to get involved with bringing Republicans in at local level, at state level, at federal level, and be active in that movement, because the only people that see this as a problem are conservative Republicans. We also aren't doing what the Democrats say we're doing and the left say we're doing, which is we don't want to allow immigrants to come to America.
That's
no,
not even
we
true.
welcome
That's
anybody to come to America legally, the right way. There's a way to come in here and there's a way not to come in here. And if you're not coming through a checkpoint and you're coming across the Rio Grande, there's a reason why you're doing that. Right. And that's not the person we want in our country. There's no reason to risk your life across that river when you can go just right down the road from you and come illegally through a checkpoint and ask for asylum. And these folks aren't doing that. And there's already 2 million of them have been let into this country by the Biden administration. How many got across that we don't know about?
Right. Well, let me tell you, I got a few stats here from September. There was 269,735 that came through. Then in November, it says 242,407, but December was 302,034, according to Border Patrol, that they've been able to count that have actually crossed the border. I mean, you figure that those numbers are probably even higher than what they're saying, so we don't really even know what the real truth is, as far as like the stats that they keep telling us. And I just don't understand how these people sleep at night, knowing that they're putting the Americans and their families in such grave danger. I mean, what is it going to take? I don't want a civil war. Okay. I don't want that. All right. That's not what I'm saying. Right. But what I'm saying is our military goes all over the fucking world, and they go and they set up camp and they protect other people's borders. Why can't they protect our border? That's my question. That's what needs to happen at this point. I mean, our Constitution doesn't matter then. I mean, that's what you're telling me. If our military cannot stand at our border and protect the border, then why do we even bother with the Constitution? I mean, that's
what the Democrats are telling. That's what the Democrats believe. That's their philosophy.
So frustrating.
To them, they're nothing but future voters.
Oh, it's just so. And we need to start looking at this. It's not even a right and a left thing. It's good or evil at this point. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's not even Republican or it's what's right and what's wrong. Right. I mean, is it God and country or Satan and destruction? I mean, that's where we're at right now. And, the people I agree, have to take a stand in some way. And the only way to do it is to, like, what I've been doing is I go and I pay attention to who's running for office, because, like, even here, we've got Dennis Reichert is ex-sheriff, whatever. He's running for governor. He's a complete establishment person. And, of course, our Washington State Republican Party is putting him up. They want him, and we want Semi Bird, who is a independent, and he believes in the Constitution and we the people being in control. So, we've got to fight there, but you have to go in your own areas and try and figure out who the real candidate is, and then vote for them. And we'll have to just keep going. I mean, I don't know. I honestly feel like we should not be having any elections on this fraudulent system at this time. I don't even know why we're doing it at this in my opinion, because I mean, here it's going to be rigged, so I don't even know. I mean, let's just hope.
The two-tier justice system in America is alive and well, sadly.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. Well, I'm sorry to I think it was a little bit of a negative coming on here today, but I just felt like we needed to talk about all of this because of the stuff that we know about and what and our experiences and your experience, because you've been, following this forever. And I mean, my hope is that, I mean, I think good for whoever can go down to the border, peacefully protest, peacefully go down there with your flag, stand with Texas, stand with 1,000%, but we just have to keep going. I just don't know. We just have to be careful.
We can't give up. We can't surrender.
Yeah, can't give up and don't surrender. That's right. Never give up. # never give up. So,
Yeah.
well, thank
Very
you
good.
so much, Doug, for coming on my show. I appreciate
Thank you for
your
having me.
time and for going through all this craziness with me. So,
It's
all
my
right.
pleasure, Tiffany. Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. So that was Douglas Ducote. If you missed it, I know there were some questions. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chris Frey mentioned something about Chinese at the border and training, and I don't know anything about that. And I think that the fact of the matter is that we just have to just keep praying. And I say we still have to vote for Trump, and that's it. So. I guess until next time, I believe let's see, I believe what's today? Wednesday. So I guess Jason will be on the Light Warrior Network with Fiend on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I think it's 5:15 Pacific on Friday, and then Delphine has her show on Saturday, Soul Therapy Saturday with Delphine, and that's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. And then on Sunday, she will be back on with Jason on Light Warrior Network at 3 p.m. Pacific. So until then, thanks for everybody watching, and I'm sure you'll see me again probably in the next week or so. So thanks. Have a great one, everybody. I'm out of here.